Welcome to We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. I am your host, Tony Lindsay, and I am back again this Sunday, January 12th, 2025. Happy New Year. Uh, there have been some recent development. There's a lot of anxiousness behind tomorrow's ruling on the TikTok ban. On Friday, the Supreme Court heard the appeal. From TikTok's attorneys. They heard from the state attorneys. They argued it out. So, everyone is wondering what's going on with that. Donald Trump, he was sentenced on Friday, sentenced to no sentence. Yeah, that made sense. But I'm here because I want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg's podcast that he did with Joe Rogan that everyone keeps talking about. And I'm particularly interested in that podcast because Mark Zuckerberg said the quiet part out loud. He said what all of us have been saying for the past, I don't even know how many years. Mark Zuckerberg has admitted to censoring American citizens on behalf of the Joe Biden administration. He's been censoring us on behalf of the government. You know what that means? That means that the government has been undermining and violating your First Amendment right to free speech. I understand that people talk about the fact that these are private companies, private institutions, but that gets tossed out the window when they're acting as an agent of the United States government. I need people to really understand that. And whether he realizes it or not, Mark Zuckerberg was basically providing witness testimony on the Joe Rogan podcast that impugns the Biden administration, the intel agencies, and a whole host of individuals who he has openly stated has threatened the company to censor you, literally threatening them to censor you. And I talked about this for months when I've been doing, these lives. I was doing a whole bunch of streams where I was, debating back and forth with a lot of people about this. And all my Democrat friends kept saying, this is a private company. That's their rules. Even though I said, no, it's not their rules. They're being told what to do by the government. And I saw a lot of people, just dismissing those claims as if they meant nothing. And now we know it's true. So I wonder, what do my friends who are staunch Democrats believe? What do you feel now? Like, how do you cope with the fact that you've been supporting censorship of American citizens, or do you not care? Do you not care about those rights that we all have? So, and that's funny. Mark Zuckerberg even says it in this interview that one of the reasons why he even set up the company was for free speech and open discourse. And look where it ended up now. Look where it ended up now. It became nothing more than the Ministry of Truth. And he actually even made a reference to 1984, funny enough, in this interview. So I just want to play a couple of things that he said, and I want to kind of go over it because, one of the things I'm actually getting tired of is I'm tired of these celebrities, these famous people, these big tech billionaires. I'm tired of them taking years to catch up what we've been saying, what the American people have been saying all along. And then actually trying to pretend like the things that he was doing was based upon our wishes. And this is the funny thing about it. And this is actually the brilliance of it. You have a mainstream media apparatus that goes around propagandizing Americans, trying to scare you into compliance. And then when you submit to that authority, they now blame you for all of the authoritarian policies that you're being subjected to. So it's like the perfect bait and switch. They impose these things upon you. And then when they get you to comply or to accept it, and sometimes even ask for it, they now get you to take the blame, the same way they did with COVID-19. They scared the shit out of you. They told you that, as a matter of fact, I shouldn't even go into that yet, because Mark Zuckerberg actually mentioned that in this podcast. And it's so crazy for me to be listening to this guy basically repeat everything that I've been saying. They scared you. People weren't cooperating because, during that time it was very scary. So of course people were debating things. You were being given this brand new experimental vaccine, and all of a sudden everyone was supposed to just open their arms out and just say, yeah, give it to me, give it to me. No questions asked. So what happened? Questions were asked. And the more people asked questions about it, the more they were demonized for asking those questions, the more they were told to shut up or else. And so Facebook served a very pivotal role in silencing the American people. So once the government saw that all of you guys were asking so many damn questions, they had to come up with a way to get you all to comply and then figure out how to blame it on you. And that's exactly what they did. They scared the shit out of you. And then they got you and they told you that you were killing people. Remember that? Mark Zuckerberg he actually mentions that in the interview as well. They mentioned that Joe Biden went on TV and said that you were killing people if you didn't take that vaccine. And what do you think happened? Oh, that's when all the fear started to go up. That's when they were like, listen, don't let your family members come over for the holidays. Stay away from grandma. You saw people walking around wearing plastic and all types of stupid shit. But all of that led to you being so afraid that you started to demonize your family members, your neighbors, your friends. You started to destroy relationships based upon the fear that was instilled in you from those who you deemed as authorities over you. You didn't bother to really, you stopped asking questions after that. The quickest road to compliance is fear. When they scare the shit out of you, they get you to cooperate. Same thing they did with 9/11. All of those extreme regulations that we have to go through when we're going through the airport, all of that, no liquids, no this, no that, all of these searches, that was only supposed to be for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks after 9/11. Here we are, 24 years later, and it's worse. This is what your government does. They continually take away more and more bits and pieces of your freedom in exchange for protection. That's what they do. They want you to just give up a little bit of your freedom here and there in order to feel safe. So, if the only incentive I need for you to hand over your freedom is fear, that incentivizes me to create something to keep you afraid. Does that make sense? Because the more emergencies I create, the more you're going to be begging me to protect you and take away more freedom. But then the clever tactic is they convince you that it's not you who's giving up your freedom. It's the people who they convinced are your enemies who are giving up your freedom. Like the people who were killing people for not taking a jab. Like those people. Like the so-called conspiracy theorists who were saying that people were getting blood clots and heart attacks. Like young men after that. Those people. They wanted you to hate those people. You know why? So you wouldn't listen to them. Who wants to listen to the opinions of someone that they hate, someone that they don't like? And then we make it about partisanship. We make it about Democrat versus Republican when it's supposed to be about right versus wrong. In order to be, see, objectivity does not require neutrality. You can look at something and say, hey, this is wrong. It doesn't matter what party is doing it. But we have people who are such rabid supporters of Democrats or Republicans that it doesn't matter. The facts don't matter anymore. The only thing that matters is whose team you're on, whose side you're on. And that, I would argue, is what is leading to the evolution of civilization. This is what's leading to the destruction of our society. Actually, yes, that's exactly what they did to RFK Jr. as well. Let's be honest. How long? Most of you all watching here, you know nothing about RFK Jr. other than what the media told you. Think about it. For as long as you've heard the name RFK Jr., you've thought conspiracy theorist, kook, weirdo, right? I mean, that's what has been instilled into us. So whenever he ran for office, whenever he did, it becomes very easy for the media to just write him off as a conspiracy theorist, an anti-vaxxer. And nothing could be further from the truth. RFK has actually been for a long time pro-vaccine. He and his kids are vaccinated. But he also articulates the dangers that come from them that are often hidden from you. And the liability protections that these pharmaceutical companies have, which incentivize them not to tell you when something is wrong, because there are very limited conditions that are placed on these pharmaceutical companies. And did you know that the fast track to getting something approved, getting a new medication or a vaccine approved, is just to know that it's approved for children? That's it. That's how they get their liability protection. The moment you say it's approved for children, that's it. So many people don't even realize, but I'm not going to get too deep down that rabbit hole because we know the censors are watching still on certain platforms like TikTok, which I have streaming right here. And Meta, even though Mark Zuckerberg is saying that he's going to be lifting the censorship, but I won't believe it until I see it, because right now I'm still shadow banned on Facebook, so I don't know what the hell Mark Zuckerberg is talking about. Still shadow banned on Instagram. And I would say, and I would argue, not even just followers. I have lost revenue due to the heavy shadow banning of my accounts. And I would suggest that you content creators who have suffered under this censorship regime that has been executed by Mark Zuckerberg, that you file a civil lawsuit. Listen, man, listen. I don't give a shit about this supposed, epiphany he has come to, and this, this conscience, this all of this discovery of a moral code and conscience. I don't care about that. There has been real harm done to millions of people. Who's going to make them whole? Someone has to. So don't just take this admission from Mark Zuckerberg as, oh, he's a nice guy. He was a victim. Oh, he's going to do the right thing now. No, he's not. No, he's not. Whatever he does now is just a means to an end. Just to trust me. What he's doing is for political convenience, for in protection of his bottom line, of his company, and he'll go whichever way the wind is blowing, because I guarantee you, if Kamala Harris had won that election, that podcast would not have happened. And Mark Zuckerberg would not have said a single fucking word, anything that you just heard. So don't praise him. He's not worthy of praise. I'm not impressed. And you don't say, oh, over the next coming months, I'm going to start. No, fuck it. Drop the censorship now. How about that? All the people that you've been, what did he call it? The I forgot, downgrading. It's like some kind of downgrading them in the algorithm, basically, so no one can see you or less people have access to you. I forgot the word that they use. But those people, you need to release their accounts now. Hey, Jenna, release my account. And that's the thing. That's when you know what? That's when you know Mark Zuckerberg is being sincere. When y'all start seeing me again on meta platforms, when you start seeing my big mouth running and you start seeing me going viral in places outside of X and TikTok. Because TikTok, they already got me. TikTok, they got me shadow banned now. And I'm pretty sure they found me. So I'm not going to say shit until I see certain people going viral again, until I see the follower count drastically increasing for certain content creators who have been consistently sharing information, growing their following, getting the word out, changing the minds of people, influencing everything, the entire environment that you see today. And that's crazy. The most influential people to the discourse today, to our politics today, have been the most silenced. They have been the most censored. Think about that. This election was a rebuke of the politics that we've been undergoing, of the social dynamic, the environment that we've been in. People are tired of the shit. So the American people gave a very specific mandate this election. It don't matter. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. You should never, ever support censoring Americans. Do you understand how unique our Constitution is when it comes to the rest of the world? That's the thing. I know a lot of us, we got a lot of problems in this country. I know that. And especially black people. Listen, I know we all got a lot of problems in this country. So I don't want anyone to feel like I don't empathize with the things that you go through, because we all go through a lot of shit in this country. But one of the things that sets us out different from everyone else is our Constitution, which guarantees certain freedoms that must be protected. Let me make this clear. The Constitution does not give you or grant you free speech. It doesn't grant you these rights. They're inalienable rights. These are rights that are your human rights. Those things that are articulated in the Constitution are to protect them because they're already yours. Do you understand that? A lot of us have been approaching the constitutions, the freedoms that we enjoy in this country as something that has been a privilege for us. So whenever we get into the conversation about free speech, that should never even be a conversation. It should never be a debate. Imagine me coming into your house and telling you, hey, close your mouth, you cannot speak, but I can say whatever the hell I want. No, only that person gets to speak. You remain silent. No, that's your right to speak, to share your ideas, to correct information that is wrong. So if I take away your right to speak, if I take away your right to anyone's right to speak, that means I'm taking away your right to gain access to new information and to learn and to grow and to share and to teach. What is the solution to hate speech or negative speech, bad speech, whatever you want to call it? What's the solution to that? More speech. That's it. Even through science. Some of y'all, I hear some of y'all sounding real crazy when it comes to the science. Science is not something that is finite. Science is a study, an ever-evolving study. You take different theories, you question those theories. Science is always tested. How do you test science? By challenging ideas. You don't just say, well, hey, this is the answer I came up with, so that's got to be it. No. So when COVID-19 hit and the government was telling you, oh no, all of these accredited scientists and virologists and immunologists and medical doctors, all of those people, no, don't believe them. They're quacks. They're fraudulent. Those people who are professors at Stanford and Oxford and Yale, no, don't listen to them. They're crazy. You listen to your government when it comes to the science. This is what happens. You abandon logic and critical thinking in order to default to people who you saw as authorities over you. That's it. That's what you did. You abandoned common sense. You didn't think for yourself. And most importantly, you didn't ask questions. What do I say in every single podcast? That you always have to ask questions. Never trust anyone who tries to shame you when you ask questions. Never trust anyone who tells you don't do your research. I remember I was watching Chris Rock. Chris Rock during the so-called pandemic. I saw Chris Rock doing a performance in a nightclub, and he was like telling people, all of you stupid motherfuckers that talk about doing your research, you want to do your research, you're a stupid motherfucker. I said, what? These people are shaming people for checking into information for themselves, for reading, for asking questions, for consulting other professionals. Meanwhile, those other professionals were being bullied and told and having their licenses threatened if they told you their professional opinion, even though they took the Hippocratic Oath. Do you all even realize the gravity of what was happening during that time? Even with the underreporting into the VAERS system, like, people don't understand the level of human rights abuses and violations we underwent during COVID, and especially under the Biden administration. Do y'all even know what you went through? Do you know how many people lied to you? Do you even understand the underlying globalist agenda behind COVID? Yeah, a lot of people don't even know. They have no idea. How many of you know about the pandemic, the pandemic treaty, the pandemic preparedness plan, the summit for the future? How many of you even know about that? Agenda 2030. Does anybody know about that shit? But yet we're sitting back. Oh, Donald Trump bad. Orange man bad. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was rushing his ass in there to sign us into this UN Summit for the Future pandemic treaty, which takes away your sovereignty, your freedoms, subjects you to surveillance and mandates under the authority of foreign governments without even going through Congress. Are you looking at the things that this man is doing before leaving office? Let me tell you something. Joe Biden, well, really his handlers, they've taken a huge gallon of gasoline, a 5-gallon thing of gasoline, and they just pouring it all over the floors, pouring it all over the country, lighting the match, and tossing it. It's like they're trying to do everything to undermine and sabotage the incoming administration. Are y'all happy with that? Why? Because you lost an election, you want to prove a point, so you're willing to crash the plane? You're willing to sabotage the pilot of the plane? Because whether you like it or not, he's your president now, right? So y'all want him to crash this plane with all of us on it in order to prove something? to prove that he's orange man bad? What happened to the common sense? When I went in to when I decided that I was going to vote for Donald Trump, I didn't even like him. But I saw everything that was being done, not only to him, but to the American people. And I knew that I could not sign on for that. I couldn't co-sign that. Because whenever you idly stand by, celebrate, or you endorse injustice that is being committed to your enemies, eventually that same injustice is going to come back and visit you, because you've set a new precedent. You've granted your government the authority to do those things under their interpretation of who is right, who is wrong, who's an enemy, who's a liar, who's a conspiracy theorist, who's dangerous, who's a what do you call it, a national a danger to national security. You see what they did to Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. These are people who are giving you, the American people, the information that has been hidden from you by criminals in your government. But most of us are too afraid to say anything. And those of us who stand up and do say something, we're persecuted, but we don't have enough support. Now you have a president that's going into office, whether you like him or not, because there's a lot of things I don't like about Donald Trump. But I do identify that Donald Trump is fighting for the same interests that I have. And I'm mature enough and I'm logical enough to understand that that is an ally that I need right now in this moment. Does that make me MAGA? No. Does it make me a cultist? No. It makes me Tony. It makes me a person with common sense. Why don't we have common sense in this country anymore? And let me tell you something. I don't even like Vivek Ramaswamy at all. I'm just telling y'all this now. I know a lot of y'all on the right, y'all love Vivek and all of this shit. I don't like Vivek. I think Vivek is hold on. And here's the thing. I think Vivek is problematic in a lot of his rhetoric, especially as it pertains to race. That's my opinion, and you're gonna respect it. But even though I don't really like the dude, you can't argue that what the man said wasn't true. I mean, it was true when he spoke about American culture. Now we know he said it in a very condescending and disrespectful manner, where he was propping up like the Indian people over American. Yeah, we get that. But we can't get to a place where we're unwilling to accept truth. We cannot receive truth. We cannot receive any message because we don't like the messenger. That's how easily we're manipulated politically, because we're taught that the moment someone says something that offends us, that whatever they say doesn't matter. So then what do you think makes the most sense for the media? To condition you into being offended by everything. Because if you're offended by everything a person says, makes no sense to listen to them. You have no reason to. Also, labeling people. When you label people as libtards or what do you call it? MAGA extremists, radical this, homophobe, transphobe, all of these things. When you label people racist in a lot of cases, wrongly with that accusation, misogynist, sexist, when you label people, it's like you're giving yourself an excuse not to receive and or process and grow from valuable information. You're denying yourself access to information that could otherwise teach you, that you can learn from, you can grow from. Are we that tribal that we're willing to sacrifice any sense of reality in support of the team? Is that what we're doing? Because I always thought we taught our kid, we were supposed to teach our kids and everyone leadership. What is leadership? Aren't we supposed to be raising leaders, not followers? Not people who are obsessed with the two false choices that we tend to be given every election as it pertains to party. The Democrat and the Republican Party, they're both trash. They're both corrupt. I know this. What, nobody else knows this? And if you do know this, why do some of you cape so hard for the party? Especially my black people. Like, what are y'all doing? You look ridiculous. Why do you fight so hard for these people who have no respect for you, who do nothing for you other than provide you with empty symbolism for you to celebrate victories that really don't exist? We're tired of it. Our politics today appeal to the lowest common denominator. It props up the lowest common denominator, and it emboldens and celebrates the lowest common denominator while using the lowest common denominator as a replacement of the representation of who we are culturally and politically, professionally, and educationally. Do you all understand that? Do we understand that? But yeah, so I know I've been ranting. Well, not ranting, but I've been speaking. But let me just play a little bit of what Mr. Zuckerberg had to say on his new I don't know, rebranding tour. Let's take it from here, this little part, because I do want to go over some of this bullshit he was saying. And it's not bullshit what he's saying. I'm just saying that I question the motivations behind what he's saying. So while he may be on the right side of history now, don't be fooled and don't make him a hero. That's something that we do all the time. We rely upon all of these celebrities, rappers, singers, comedians, radio hosts, media personality, pundits, actors, actresses. We rely on all these people to somehow be our representation, as if any of these motherfuckers live like us. And what's crazy is these people, they don't share your experience. And most of them, you know what the difference is between you and all of the celebrity class, the professional managerial class, the people who are put on TV in order to speak for you and your group? You know what the difference is between them and you? They have more money than you in some cases, but more people know who they are. That's it. They have more followers than you, basically. That's the only difference. But yet you're allowing a lot of these fucking idiots to educate you on your politics. Understand that the majority of these people who you have been defaulting to for your opinions on politics, well, they're idiots. But at the end of the day, the majority of them, they're entertainers. You know what that means? They're here for entertainment. They are here to entertain you, not teach you. Why are you relying upon comedians and actors to educate you? Really? How have we become this backwards? What, is this truth pill a little too hard to swallow? That we have become an extremely dumbed down society? That American culture breeds laziness, intellectual laziness, entitlement, arrogance, delusion? While our test scores, while we test lower than most other industrialized countries, we test number one in confidence in our education. You don't see a problem with that? That means we're delusional. We have the highest rate of sickness, obesity, dependency on pharmaceutical drugs in the world. Our food is banned in most other industrialized countries. Like what the hell is happening right now? Y'all don't see the scam that you falling for? But yet RFK Jr. is the bad guy when he's talking about taking yellow dye and red dye out of our foods. And y'all are still talking shit about this man on social media? Bro, what? And then I have these weird debates with my Democrat friends who always come in, but Trump, he made me feel bad. He said some mean things. He's not nice. I don't need Donald Trump to be nice. I need him to be effective. But you know why Donald Trump sometimes is not effective? And let's be honest, because he faces a lot of obstruction from the same establishment that we all previously identified as being against the interests of the American people, but most of you are now caping for today. The same intelligence agencies that none of you trusted until the media told you, and Hillary Clinton and Obama, that Donald Trump was Adolf Hitler. Really? Even though all of Hollywood and the black, everybody loved him until he came down that escalator. When are we going to admit that we've been played? Come on, when are we going to admit it? Like, damn, just say, yo, you know what? You got me. All right, you're not going to catch me out there again. But we're so ego-driven. We're so egotistical that we cannot even admit when we were manipulated. That's the problem. I know it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a hard thing to take. Like, damn, I've been making a fool out of myself. I done demonized my friends and family. I was calling for the death of people because there were a lot of y'all who were calling for other people to die during COVID if they didn't take the vaccine. I peeped y'all. I know who y'all are. Y'all were talking all types of shit. A lot of y'all, you sold your children to the state. Meanwhile, people like me were like, yo, we just want to protect you. We just want you to think, hold on, we care about you. We want to protect you. Listen, just ask questions like we are. No, shut up. You're killing people. Here, take my child, even though your kid didn't fucking need it. Ooh, man. It's better for you to just admit that you screwed up. Damn. You know what? I screwed up, but you know what? They're not going to do that to me again. Because whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you one thing. Of what? It's probably billions, right? How many people took the jab? It's probably billions. But of all the people who did not take it, I have yet to find one who regrets that decision. Y'all know anybody that didn't take it that regrets the decision? No. And I know, and I see somebody commented, I took every one of them. And you know what? God bless you. I'm glad that you're okay. But we also have to get to a place where we understand that just because we're okay after doing something, it doesn't mean that you're okay because you did that. It could mean that you're okay despite the fact that you did that. Do you understand that? Do we not think? The fact that you survived doesn't mean that the things that you did before survival are what led to your survival. I know a lot of drug users who have fucked up their body their whole life. They took a lot of drugs, but they're still alive today. Am I going to say, whew, man, I'm glad you did all them drugs because look at you today? Or am I going to say, thank God you survived despite what you did to your body? Wake up. Better yet, go take a D-dimer test. How about that? To the hundreds, there's a few hundred people watching me on right. If you took that thing, God bless you. But I would ask you, just humor me. Go take a D-dimer test. I'm just asking you to do that for your own safety and just to make sure. Go take a D-dimer test. All right? If you don't know what a D-dimer test is, look it up. All right? Test for blood clots, basically. All right? Just look that up. So anyway, we're gonna wait. Hold on. Let me wait. Hold on 1 second, because I'm also streaming on TikTok at the same time. I'm surprised they didn't kick me off yet, because usually whenever I tell the truth on TikTok, my live goes down. But that's why I'm also streaming here on Rumble, X, Facebook, Instagram, and wait, what did I say? Rumble, Instagram, and YouTube. Because one thing that they do on TikTok is whenever you tell the truth, or they want to try to take down your live or mass report and that type of dumb shit, you lose the entire stream. So everything that I said, it disappears. So when I'm shooting over here, it ain't gonna disappear. So anyway, yeah, no, I'm not gonna download. Lemonade is trash. Listen, I don't have any love for TikTok, honestly. If they get rid of it, I don't care, because TikTok is censoring people. I mean, listen, I know that a lot of you guys are like used to it and you're enjoying TikTok, but I don't celebrate social media platforms that censor me. None of you should. If anything, you should migrate to the platforms that allow you to espouse your own thoughts. Period. And there's only two that I know of right now that actually let you say whatever you want to say, whether you're on the left or the right. One of them being Rumble, and the other one being X. Those are the only two platforms where you are allowed free speech, and you can monetize content, by the way, as creators. I know a lot of you have gotten hooked on TikTok because it's easy and it's user friendly and it's got the cute little features and all that. But bro, what are you willing to sacrifice for that? I personally have had like 6 accounts banned already. They've stolen thousands of dollars from me because I went live. I have conversations. I put out content, and they were actually monetizing. I don't even know how the hell it got monetized, but I was finding money in my account, so I'm getting money. But the more I started telling the truth, it started going down again. Next thing you know, they banned my accounts. The day before the election, they did a blanket ban of every backup account I had. I mean, come on, how fucking obvious can you be, bro? Who's pulling the strings? Well, let's answer that question now, because a lot of you folks who I've been debating with on TikTok, you keep telling me TikTok, it's China. No, it's not. Meanwhile, I'm telling you, look, somebody just put China in the chat. The people who have been censoring you on TikTok, they have been doing this on behalf of the Biden administration. And for years, they have already hired former intel agency people into their staff, into their company, in order to acquiesce to the demands of the Biden administration, so that they don't get targeted. But it didn't matter anyway, because the more y'all started talking about that genocide in Gaza, all of a sudden the ADL, they started doing these meetings that we saw the leaks where they were saying we got to do something about TikTok, and next thing you know, TikTok, they shove it into a bill to get rid of it. Certain people have too much power in your government. I don't care if you're on the left or the right, but if you believe that the level of influence that AIPAC, Israel, has over this country is appropriate, then I would say you definitely don't care as much about your country as you say you do. And that's facts. But anyway, let's go to this interview. Let's start from here. This is Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast. And this is, I queued it up a little bit, but here we go.
And then you have the administration that's doing something where I think they crossed the line, where it gets really weird, where they're saying what you were saying. They were trying to get you to take down vaccine side effects, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, it's so complicated, this system, that I could spend every minute of all of my time doing this and not actually focused on building any of the things that we're trying to do. AI, glasses, like the future of social media, all that stuff. So, so when I get involved in this stuff, but in general, we have a policy team. There are people who I trust. They're the people who are kind of working on this on a day-to-day basis. And the interactions that that I was just referring to, I mean, a lot of this is documented. I mean, because Jim Jordan and the House had this whole investigation and committee into the kind of government censorship around stuff like this, and we produced all these documents, and it's all in the public domain. I mean, basically, these people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, when he's like, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. We just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And they
hauled it in Congress.
I don't know. Then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal.
Did you all hear that? See, I spoke about this at length when I said, remember when they were threatening to take away their Section 230 protection, the liability protection of these social media companies by accusing them of threatening people? Do you guys remember when they hauled Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress and they were basically accusing him of killing people's children? Remember that? When they were talking about all the suicides of these children and how he's responsible. And I was just like, damn, they were pouring it on. Remember? Yeah. So how are you all telling me that this is not some straight up mafia tactics by looking at someone who owns a company and says, hey, that's a real nice company you got there. It'd be a shame if you lost it, if you didn't do what we tell you to do. And they got so brazen with it that they were calling employees of Facebook. This is the Biden administration. They were calling his team, ordering them, not asking, not advising them on content that we think may be inappropriate or may be dangerous or blah, 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 or harmful. They were calling them, ordering them to take it down, threatening them. And then when they said, no, we're not doing it. Remember, we said that these, remember, my argument has always been these social media companies don't really want to freaking censor you. They want as much participation and engagement as possible on these platforms because that's their bottom line. So if they're censoring you so heavily to the detriment of their platform, where you're getting so much lower engagement, this must be something that is being imposed upon them. How do I know this? Because of the second half of his statement. What did he say? Yeah, after that, Joe Biden, next thing you know, he said, you're killing people. And we were being investigated by all of these government agencies. I'm sorry, what's coercion again, folks? What's intimidation? Are we going to just act like we didn't hear what he just said? So when I said earlier that what Mark Zuckerberg did was he gave witness testimony on the Joe Rogan podcast, that is exactly what that man did. And I suggest you guys use that when you file your notices of claim against Meta and the U.S. government. The same way that Jay Bhattacharya and the other doctors and the people who filed a suit against the Biden administration did, where the Fifth Circuit Court found where they placed that injunction on the Biden White House. Remember when they told Joe Biden and his White House, stop contacting these social media companies and intimidating them, stop it. And the judge labeled it as potentially one of the greatest violations of free speech in modern history. And then on appeal, it was still upheld until they took it to the Supreme Court, and it was dismissed merely due to lack of standing because they were supposed to show harm. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is there is precedent, like there is evidence that shows that Meta was actively censoring people on behalf of the Biden White House. We already heard Mark Zuckerberg admit to what happened with the Hunter Biden laptop story, and I would definitely argue that that's election interference, because imagine what that would do for voters if they find out just before an election that there is evidence that points towards corruption by one of the candidates, where there's documented evidence of them taking millions and millions of dollars from foreign countries like China and Ukraine. Ukraine, which, by the way, was reported as one of the most corrupt, if not the most corrupt country in the world before the Russia-Ukraine war. But all of a sudden, they're like this beacon of democracy, even though they got Nazis in their freaking military, the Azov Nazis, the Azov battalion. So, bro, stop assuming that the American people don't know anything. So now what I'm saying is, with this newfound information that you guys are gathering now, thanks to Mr. Zuckerberg, obviously kissing the ring of Donald Trump, I don't really care about that. All I care about is the end result, which is to end this censorship. Let's move forward. Wait, actually, I wanted to get to the because he did put it out there about what they did with COVID. Hold on, let me see if I can find that.
Oh, that's beyond the imagination. So who is they? Who's telling?
Here we go.
Push that program. They also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it.
Here we go, right there.
I'd say during the Biden administration when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And now I'm generally like pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, you know, anything that
hold on, what did Mr. Zuckerberg just say, in case y'all didn't hear him?
Push that program. They also tried to censor anyone who was basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were honestly were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, you know, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And what? I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration. I think.
It was who? People in the Biden administration. So let me ask y'all this, Democrat friends. Are you saying he's lying now? He's making all this shit up? Is that what we're going to go with now? Is that going to be the new angle? Don't believe him? Bro. See, you know, I was watching some reports earlier. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that says, oh, Mark Zuckerberg, he's such an amazing human being now. He's finally, you know, he's learned his lesson and he's on the right side of history. Because honestly, I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. Right? I don't. I think he's doing what's politically expedient, what's best for his company in the present moment, because he knows that he's caught between a rock and a hard place. Because, and I don't know if you guys remember, during on the campaign trail, Donald Trump was like, this dude needs to be locked up. I agree. In this interview, he talks about how he has majority control and they have of this company, of Facebook, and he gets to make all the decisions. So I lay all of this squarely at your feet, Mr. Zuckerberg. Whether you like it or not, social media has become the public square for discourse. And we understand that, quote, free speech, the First Amendment doesn't, quote unquote, apply on social media. But guess what? It does when the government decides that they're going to intercede and direct you to censor people on behalf of the state. Now you've just become an accomplice in a state action that is illegal. Does everyone understand that? So I saw some articles, right? And I saw people who were basically praising Mark Zuckerberg. Some people were like, no, he really has a shift. And I do find it very encouraging that he appointed Dana White to the board, because Dana White, bro, you couldn't have picked anybody better. So I am encouraged by that. But you know what's crazy? Ever since Mark Zuckerberg started doing like MMA and martial arts, people have been saying like he's been like becoming more manly, like he's getting more testosterone. And you know how they say the more testosterone you have, you tend to be more conservative. There's literally studies on this, that the more testosterone you have as a man, the more conservative you become. I think just the more masculine, the more common sense and logic you espouse. But here's something that actually makes that point to me, that makes me say, like, wait a minute, maybe he is learning something. I want you to hear what he has to say, because it's common sense what I just heard that man say, what I'm about to play. But I'm pretty sure my friends on the left will say that it's hate speech. Here we go.
It's just something, it's like, I don't know, all these forms of energy are good. And I think having a culture that like celebrates the aggression a bit more has its own merits that are really positive.
He's talking about MMA.
And that has been a kind of a positive experience for me. Just like having a thing that I can just like do with my guy friends, and like, yeah, and it's just like we're just like beat each other a bit. I don't know, it's good.
It is good.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't know.
It's good. It just, I could see your point though about corporate culture. When do you think that happened? Was that a slow shift? Because I think it used to be very masculine, and I think it was kind of hyper aggressive at one point.
No, and look, and I think part of the intent on all these things, I think, is good, right? I do think that if you're a woman going into a company, it probably feels like it's too masculine. It's like there isn't enough of the kind of the energy that you may naturally have, and it probably feels like there are all these things that are set up that are biased against you, and that's not good either, because you want women to be able to succeed and like have companies that can unlock all the value from having great people, no matter what their background or gender, So, but I think these things can always go a little far, and I think it's one thing to say we want to be kind of like welcoming and make a good environment for everyone, and I think it's another to basically say that masculinity is bad.
What, Mr. Zuckerberg? What?
And I just think we kind of swung culturally to that part of the kind of the spectrum where
feminism,
it's all like, okay, masculinity is toxic, we have to like get rid of it completely. It's like, no, like it's good, right? I do think that if you're a woman going into a company, it probably feels like it's too masculine. It's like there isn't enough of the kind of the energy that you may naturally have, and it probably feels like there are all these things that are set up that are biased against you, and that's not good either, because you want women to be able to succeed and like have companies that can unlock all the value from having great people, no matter what their background or gender, So, but I think these things can always go a little far. And I think it's one thing to say we want to be kind of like welcoming and make a good environment for everyone. And I think it's another to basically say that masculinity is bad. And I just think we kind of swung culturally to that part of the kind of the spectrum where, you know, it's all like, okay, masculinity is toxic. We have to like get rid of it completely. It's like, no, like it's both of these things are good, right? It's like you want like feminine energy, you want masculine energy. Like I think that's like you're gonna have parts of society that have more of one or the other. I think that's all good, but I do think the corporate culture sort of had swung towards being this somewhat more neutered thing, and I didn't really
Feminine, say
feel that until I got involved in martial arts, which I think is still a much more masculine culture. And so, and not that it doesn't try to be inclusive in its own way, but I think that there's just a lot more of that energy there. And I just kind of realized it's like, oh, this is
that's
like
how you become successful at martial arts. You have to be at least somewhat aggressive.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there are like a few of these things throughout your life where you have an experience and you're like, where has this been my whole life? And it just like, it just turned on like a part of my brain that I was like, okay, like this was a piece of the puzzle that should have been there. And I'm glad it now is.
Look at how he was smiling when he said that. He found his balls. He discovered his testosterone. Mark Zuckerberg's balls have dropped, ladies and gentlemen. And he's now more conservative in some of his ideas. And that's the point. I'm not even saying that the man has to be a conservative. You can hold conservative ideas just as well as liberal ideas. We're all a mixed bag when it comes to our perspectives. But when we pledge fealty to this one side of the spectrum all the time, when we say we're going to be ironclad this and we're going to be ironclad that, that's the recipe for disaster because you're choosing teams. That's the point. That's why we have to get comfortable or find a way of being able to agree with people that we normally don't agree with, or agreeing with people that we don't like, because no one is going to be right 100% of the time, including your team, aka mob. We're conducting our politics according to mob mentality, and this is why we're where we are today. So yeah, I just wanted you guys to just get a little bit of my take on this issue. I think that what Mark Zuckerberg is doing right now, it is appropriate. It's long overdue. And Mark, you're about 10 years too late, but welcome to common sense. You're not going to get any cookies for it. You know, somebody said that this is late stage puberty for you, but whatever it is, you know, it is a good thing. But I wonder what your position would be or will be if a Democrat took office 4 years from now. What would your position be? What would your stance be? Would you still be a proponent of free speech and common sense? Or would you suddenly go back to this shift where people need to be censored because words are quote unquote violence? Don't cater to the mob, because unfortunately, a mob is not rational. And we know this in this mob, there's a lot of mental illness. You all know, according to a Pew Research study, 62% of white female liberals, white women liberals, are clinically diagnosed with mental illness. And they tend to be the ones who are leading the movements on the left. Just something to think about. And I'm just giving you data. That's it. So you guys can figure that shit out for yourself. So I just wanted to come on here and address that little Mark Zuckerberg thing. Once again, it's good news But don't take that as a panacea to all of our problems that we've been facing in this social media world, because there's a lot of work to do. And from what I see, Mark Zuckerberg has taken no actions to date to undo the heavy level of censorship and shadow banning that he has subjected some of the most powerful and influential voices on his platforms. So you can miss me with that bullshit until you actually do it. I'm still shadow banned, Mr. Zuckerberg. What are you afraid of? Like, what are these people afraid of? That's the question that I would love for my Democrat friends to ask. Damn, why do they want these people silenced so much? I mean, is it that they believe? And here's the thing too, because this was one of the arguments that took place on Friday at the Supreme Court appellate hearing on that hearing on the TikTok ban. One of the arguments that was offered, and I think this was by Chief Justice Roberts, because he was like basically asking, like, because the framing of the state's attorney's argument was basically almost kind of implying that the American people are too dumb. They're too dumb to decide for themselves. And that's a very interesting argument to have, right? That you think that people are just so stupid that they can't disseminate information for themselves, so you have to block them from being able to watch or listen to certain things and figure it out for themselves. And then who gets to determine what information is harmful or not good for you? Because even when you talk about foreign ownership of publications, and I think one of the justices gave this argument. He was like, well, you have like, I think it's Politico, which is owned by Germany, I believe, and the Oxford Press. Who's to say that you can't use this same argument to try to ban or censor those publications? When does an American citizen's right to free speech and access to information, or freedom of the press, even apply? And we know social media companies are not press. But I mean, I'm going to go and listen to the hearing again tonight, because I'm really looking forward to seeing what the decision will be tomorrow. But I will say this, and I'm going to be real. I'm streaming on TikTok right now. But if they ban TikTok, force the sale, whatever happens, I don't really give a shit in this moment, because right now there are only 129 people watching my stream on TikTok right now, when there was a time when I would have more than 1,000. I don't care anymore. My videos that are on on TikTok, people were taking my TikTok videos and they were putting them on X, and they'd go viral in those on X. But on TikTok, it'd have like 50 views. So I'm heavily shadow banned on TikTok. So I'm one of those people that doesn't really give a shit. But at the end of the day, no social media platform should engage in censorship, whether it be on behalf of the United States government or even in their own policies. Because even if they were to frame that within their policies, I would say that is a platform that none of the American people should support. So if you're looking for an echo chamber, sure, go to one of those things like Blue Sky or right now, currently, Facebook and Instagram. But other than that, yeah, we need to get to a new place culturally where we want access to new information, where we want to engage. We want to engage in open conversations with each other, so we can all learn and grow together and find common ground. Because it's clear that this government does not want us actually talking to each other in good faith. And why is that? And I believe it's because, and there's nothing more dangerous to a corrupt government than an informed public. And the only way that the public can become informed is when we put our defenses down and start talking to each other in order to identify those who are truly violating our rights and are truly doing harm to the American people. So remember, your next door neighbor, that's not your enemy. Y'all were buddy and chum until you heard that person was voting for Trump. The real question is, Why are you so angry that they're voting for Trump? And what exactly did Donald Trump do that made you hate him? Because in most cases and in most conversations, the people who I talk to who say they voted against Trump or they don't like Trump, they can never truly identify or articulate anything specific that Donald Trump did. And I know why. It's because the media spent the last 9 years convincing you that he did those things. So do your own research, even though I know it's taboo on the left. Do your own research, use some common sense, and try to engage with people with some degree of empathy and logic and a desire to learn to be open-minded and be open to new perspectives, because there is no greater indicator of strength than being able to change your mind and your opinion after being introduced to new information. I'm Tony Lindsay. This is We Need to Talk, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.